all good, baby. It was all...
So if you're ready to break the generational cycle of poverty, revolving prison doors, and a lack of education that's holding us all back, then now's the time to do something about it. So to move from gutter to greatness, it all begins with a change in mindset. Here's your host, Dr. Paul Miller.
Hey everybody, we're here with an episode of G2G from the gutter to greatness, and we got some greatness with us today. We got this brother who's down in the NOLA being great, but he's being great everywhere, man. This brother is internationally known. And so we're going to get to know this brother today. We're going to ask him some questions. We're going to get down to his nitty gritty, and we want to know his gutter and his greatness. And hopefully he will be able to influence somebody else to become great. So this brother, I'm going to let him talk a little bit and just tell who he is. You know, I could do it, but I'm not going to be able to do it justice the way he could do it. This brother is an international speaker. He is the owner of a humongous STEM company that is putting STEM in the hands of kids throughout this country, throughout the world. And he's really changing names. He's changing hearts. He's changing people. He's changing minds. This brother's doing his thing. So I'm going to introduce my brother here, Dr. Calvin Mackie. Dr. Mackie, tell us who you are. What do you do? You know, why do you do what you do?
Hey, brother Paul, Dr. Miller, whatever name you're going by today.
Hey,
thank
man,
you, man.
I'm just me, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Hey, bro, if to have a show named from gutter to greatness, I mean, that is fire. So you got to be Paul or me, man. Dr. PhD came and EDD can't come up with that. That's just straight street stuff there. And
you already know.
It's beautiful. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here. Anytime I get an opportunity to chop it up with another good brother, I'm always looking forward to it because, we out here in the mix and we're doing these things and they got gators and sharks all around us trying to undermine us. So we got to get up every day and support each other. To the audience, my name is Calvin Mackie, and I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm from Backertown, Gerttown, Zion City. I'm from the lower 9 where we don't mind dying. Paul, I'm from that wild magnolia. I thought I told you. I'm from that CP3. You know me. In essence, what I'm trying to say, Paul, is that I started from the bottom, and thank God, just like you, I'm here. I was born and raised in New Orleans. Mother went to a state-approved Negro high school. Father dropped out of school in the 8th grade to pick cotton. Literally, I grew up in a house with no books. But my daddy, in the aftermath of Hurricane Betsy in 1965, started a roofing company and employed, hundreds of brothers in the neighborhood, just teaching them skills on how to do roofs. And the beautiful part about that is that he was not formally educated, but he gave me and my 2 brothers and my 3 sisters 2 very important things: work ethic and discipline. I mean, he taught me every day a man got to get up and go out and kill, or he shall not eat. So that's the way we lived in our house. In our house, everybody went to work, bro. At about 8 a.m., everybody was going. The dog used to leave. And the dog
Where the dog go, man? What y'all do with the dog?
He used to come back at 5 o'clock muddy, looking for his dinner, bro. The dog went and put in that work, just like everybody else. So that was my humble beginnings. I mean, my mom and my dad wanted the best for their children. They gave us the best that they had, but more importantly, they knew that there was educators in the community like you that they could trust, and they turned us over to those people, and they made us listen to those people. And if those people came to our house or called, I remember the teacher called my mama one time to tell her I was doing good, and she said, "Nah, that teacher just wouldn't call his house." I got spanked because she thought the teacher was giving her some sublime message that I was really acting up, right? So The bottom line is that, that was that. I mean, I grew up in New Orleans, and
what's New Orleans like for those who don't know? Because the people see the beads and they see the good time and they see a Bourbon Street, but I'm not sure everybody really knows what New Orleans is really like.
They see Bourbon Street and they see all that, but I tell them, you look at Lil Wayne, you look at Baby, you look at Master P, and I mean, they got it out the dirt, bro. And when I name all those neighborhoods, when you go into those neighborhoods, when you ride, right? The people that you grew up with riding with you, New Orleans is it was always a very white, black city, and a very well-to-do and a very not well-to-do city. And it still is to this day. The people making money, but the majority of people, especially the majority of black and brown people, are poor in this city. Our educational system, in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, was taken over by ed reform. We have the only fully 100% charter school district, a district of charter schools. They took over 124 schools, summarily dismissed 5,000 black and brown teachers and principals, and claimed that they were not doing what they were supposed to be doing. When now what we are showing is that the system that they had in place before Hurricane Katrina is actually outdoing the system that they've put in place. The only thing that's different is that the hue of the people that's controlling the economics have changed. So I do think a lot of this was about economics and not so much about education.
How has Hurricane Katrina, how did that influence and change your trajectory or path? Because I know it made a lot of changes in people's lives.
Bruh, I tell people this, some people talk about their lives in different ways, and there's pretty much 2 days that changed my life. May 31st, 1994 at 7 p.m., I watched the undertaker come into to our house and remove our mother's body. I was 27 years old. And I had to sit there and watch the undertaker move my mother's body and then grieve with my brothers and sisters. And I often tell people, if you ever meet Kelvin pre-May 31st, 1994, tell him I say, what's up? Because that dude is gone. And whenever I talk about my life now, it's pre-Katrina, post-Katrina. Pre-Katrina, what I didn't tell your audience was that I was a professor. Yes, I grew up in a house with no books. I started college in remedial reading, developmental math. And I went to Morehouse College where I was conditionally accepted. But after 3.5 years, I finished Morehouse, #1 in mathematics, #5 in the largest class Morehouse had graduated at that time. But then I left Morehouse and went to Georgia Tech, where I got an MS, another BS, an MS, and a PhD in mechanical engineering. I got 4 STEM degrees in 11 years. I say that to say, after I got my PhD at Georgia Tech in 1996, as one of 11 African Americans that year to receive a PhD in mechanical engineering, I became a professor at Tulane University. And for 12 years, I was the first and only African American faculty member at Tulane in engineering school, the first and only African American ever tenured. Now, I don't say that to brag. I say that to let you know that there's historic, systemic institutional racism that have kept many people like me out of institutions like private schools like Tulane. But I just happen to be blessed to come back home and battle my way to get tenure. And you ask, how did my life change post-Katrina? When Hurricane Katrina hit, the president of Tulane University decided to keep the football team and eliminate the engineering program. So I lost a 6-figure tenured position at like 37 years old. At that time, 8 people had moved into my house because my family lost 29 houses during Hurricane Katrina. And one of the persons that had moved into my house was my father, who at the time was pretty much had been diagnosed with level 3 or 4 lung cancer. And he eventually died at my house. So the person I was pre-Katrina, this professor, these dreams of maybe being a college president someday or something like that, and the person I am post-Katrina, committed to my community and trying to make sure that we put STEM in the hand of every kid, regardless of their background, that was the pivotal point for me. Katrina was a watershed moment.
Right. Yeah, and I think it changed a lot of people's lives, and just walking the ground and being there where people had went through that, and the injustices of how this country did not run to the aid of you all. I mean, it's just crazy to me. It's like almost you wanted the city to be cleaned out in their terms and wiped away to start over again without providing help and support.
And people don't believe that. I was here in the aftermath of Katrina. The governor appointed me to the Louisiana Recovery Authority, the 33-member board, to help rebuild our city. And one thing that was documented, I went across Canada touring, speaking post-Hurricane Katrina, because the Canadian Army made it to New Orleans. The Canadian Redcoats made it to New Orleans before the Army and the federal government did. And you got to ask yourself how the Canadians can get here to help the people that they saw in the news and the federal government couldn't.
Yeah, that's just so crazy to me. And it sounds like y'all been through so much, but with that struggle has come triumph. With that, and you've been able to turn that struggle into something beautiful, and that beautiful thing that I know about, which I think you do a lot, right? But is that STEM NOLA company you got? Why did you start STEM NOLA?
Man, James Baldwin said, the man or woman who continuously survives the worst that life brings will eventually get to a point where they no longer fear the worst that life can bring. And you're tired of your thing, from gutter to greatness, man. When you look at the rappers and the athletes who risked it all, right? They say, look, I got $1 and a dream, and I'm gonna risk it all, and I'm going for this one thing, and I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna die trying getting it. And many of us get educated, we get these book smarts, and we begin to fear risk. We begin to fear losing it all, because I put in so much work, man, to get this job, and I don't want to lose this job because I don't know. Katrina wiped that fear away from me, And I said, when I walked away from Tulane, 8 people living in my house, I realized then that it was time then to live what I thank God had put me on this earth to do. I mean, put it all in, risk everything. And my goal, when I post Katrina, I went to the Netherlands, and I saw little Dutch kids in a middle school that understood the hazards and the barriers and the environmental concerns of their communities better than the politicians I traveled with. And I say, how could we live in New Orleans, especially my little Black kids, and not understand that we were living below sea level and that every day our life was at risk? And I'm blaming myself. I say, here I am, a Black man with a PhD in engineering, in fluid mechanics, and had the knowledge that my community and people needed. And I was too busy caught up in the ivory tower than going into the community and educating my people. So I said, never again shall a little Black boy, a little Black girl in New Orleans walk around not knowing the condition and the concerns of their environment. So my wife, in 2013, we took $100,000 of our own dollars, and we started an organization by the name of STEM NOLA to expose and inspire and engage communities in STEM. In essence, Paul, we take STEM directly to the community. We go into, tonight we will be at the Juvenile Detention Center doing STEM in a probationary program. We're going to be teaching these little teenagers who have gotten into some trouble how to build Bluetooth speakers. I mean, I'll go into the middle of the housing development and take a drone cage and put it in the middle of the street and have everybody come out and start flying drones and start teaching them about STEM. But mostly we do these big programs on Saturday, upward of 200 kids from pre-K 4 all the way through 12th grade. We invite college students out to engage with these students. We pay the college students upward from $10 to $15 an hour. In the last 10 years, we put over $3 million in the hands of college students. And then we surround those college students with STEM professionals. Now, why is that important? What Tracy and I said is that somehow our 2 little boys, 2 little privileged boys, still Black males, was growing up in a house with a dad who had a PhD in engineering and mom who was a pharmacist. If they wanted to meet a medical doctor, I called my boy. They wanted to meet a Marvel comic hero, I called my brother. They wanted to meet Obama, and they woke up every day with their arms, with a picture with Obama with their arms around them. But that's not the story for many of our children. So the question began, how do we marshal the human capital and the technical capital back into the communities so kids can see, touch, and feel all of us? So now we got rocket scientists. I done brought an astronaut into the hood in New Orleans for all kids to see, touch, and feel. And I brought actors, actresses, athletes, medical doctors. Whenever we do these big events, we marshal people to the community, and they got to commit to being human and sitting down with our kids and helping them get through this STEM stuff and understand, the possibilities of the 21st century.
I mean, what y'all are doing is phenomenal. I saw it, witnessed it firsthand. And the fact is that y'all are changing the community's minds and putting STEM into their minds. And for those who don't know what STEM is out there, it stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, some people like to say the nasty word you told me you don't like, which is STEAM. You told me you don't like that because they like to add the arts in there. Why do you have a problem with adding the A for arts?